Det er vinter, vejret er lort, og der er mega lang tid til, vi skal ud og køre race igen. Og hvad gør man så? Så køber man en ny motorcykel. Det her, det er min helt store drøm, der går i opfyldelse. Det kan være svært at se, hvad det her det er. Den er splittet ad, der er ingen kåber på. Det hele er ved at blive gjort klar til race. Men en lille giveaway, det er, at her hvor tanken normalt vil sidde, der sidder luftfilteret. Hele subframen her, som normalt er bagstillet til cyklen, det er faktisk tanken. Så nogle af jer ved måske, hvad det er. Der er sikkert også en del, der ikke ved, hvad det er. Det her, det er en Krämer GP2 890R, en søstercykel til den cykel, som KTM lavede, RC8C, men det her er faktisk den originale. Det her, det er en fuldstændig håndbygget, bespoket racercykel, lavet af Krämer Motorcycles i Tyskland, som faktisk ikke laver andet end de her håndbyggede maskiner her til banen. Den er helt unik i det format, at den bruger en 890 motor fra KTM, som selvfølgelig er forstærket med titan, plejlstænger, ventiler, hele pisset. Så den går rigtig, rigtig godt. Og det mest bemærkelsesværdige i den her motorcykel, som er det, jeg glæder mig allermest til, det er vægten, og det er vægt-effektforholdet. Det her, det er en cykel, der vejer 140 kilo og har 140 heste. Den er cirka, hvad er det? Det er jo nok mellem 45 kilo lettere end den gængse 600 kubik, og imellem 50 og 60 kilo lettere end en 1000 kubik, selvom den stadigvæk har 140 heste. Så det skulle være et helt andet dyr at køre på, en helt anden vægt at slæve rundt på banen. Det glæder jeg mig sindssygt meget til. Nu ligger alle stumperne til maling, alle kåberne ligger til maler nu, så de kan komme til at se ud, som jeg gerne vil have, de skal se ud. Og forhåbentlig så bliver cyklen samlet færdig, så jeg har den med over til MC-messen over i lokomotivhallerne. Så vi fra Track Day Guiden håber, I vil kigge forbi til vores store stand derovre og hilse på og snakke lidt om race og den sæson, der kommer. Og for jer, der ikke er ude at køre nu, forhåbentlig får mod på at komme ud og køre, når I møder os derovre. Der er den her cykel med, så man kan få lov at se på noget, der måske er lidt anderledes end det, vi plejer at se på banen. Og den her cykel, den har jeg været ned i Tyskland og hentet nede ved Krämer Motorcycles nede i Burghausen. Og det er der faktisk kommet en rigtig, rigtig fed video ud af. Jeg har mødtes med Marcus Krämer, som valgte at dukke op på en lørdag for at lade sig interviewe og snakke lidt omkring, hvad hele filosofien i virksomheden er. Der er jo ikke mange, der producerer motorcykler forbundet, som ikke hedder Yamaha og Suzuki og alle de helt store. Og derefter så møder jeg så Finn Chapman, som er en af deres udviklingschefer, som så sidenhen er blevet en testkører. Så han er en af de rigtig, rigtig hurtige herrer og fortæller lidt om, hvordan sådan en her den kan køre sidelæns. Så nu må vi se, om det er ham, der kan gøre det, eller det er cyklen, der kan gøre det. Det må jo komme an på en prøve, når jeg skal i gang. Men jeg håber, at I vil se med, og jeg håber, at vi ses over på MC-messen. Og hvis vi ikke ses derovre, så ses vi jo nok på banen. Det håber jeg i hvert fald, for jeg håber at skyde godt i gang med sæsonen med en masse gode racer og en masse dejlige mennesker, vi skal ud og mødes med. Så jeg håber, at I vil se med nu på det, der kommer nu, som er nede fra fabrikken dernede. Men tak for, at I ser med, og jeg glæder mig til, at vi ses snart igen. På gensyn.
Let's go to the workshop.
Yeah, where the magic happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
So this is your new facility.
this is our new facility.
Yeah.
We moved in, a bit more than a year
Yes.
ago.
And upgraded quite a lot, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the place we had before, it's about 30 kilometers away from here in Töging.
Okay.
And we had multiple, let's say, rooms and workshops. So it was from the logistics quite difficult.
I imagine.
And now we have overall, of course, more square meters and everything together, nicely organized. And also here in the workshop, we have split the R&D side from the production side.
Okay, so those are separate.
Yes.
Is this assembly, or what is this room used for?
This is our R&D workshop.
This is R&D. Okay,
Yes.
so this is where parts are tested out and
Yes.
fitted and pre-fitted and.
This is I don't know if you can see what it is.
It's a mono.
That's a new Apex bike. Let's say 1/3 of it.
A third of it, yeah.
Which is now this year run in the Motor America Talent Cup as a spec bike.
Okay, that's a spec bike then.
Yeah, with a 350 KTM off-road engine.
Yeah.
So this
Single
is a
cylinder.
Single cylinder.
How much horsepower does that push out?
55.
Wow, on a single cylinder, 350 cc.
110 kilograms. Fully adjustable chassis, Mechatronic ECU. So
that'll pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's a really fun bike.
Wow, amazing. So this is where all the parts are tested and
the prototype bikes are built up. also here in the little machine shop, this is only for R&D to do the prototype bikes.
To make small brackets and things like that, right?
Yeah, nothing to do with production, but you need to be a little bit independent from outside suppliers, you know, to build the prototypes.
Yeah, otherwise it takes too long.
Yeah, and here we have our suspension room.
Yeah.
With suspension dyno.
Yes.
Spring dyno. So here we can really do properly the setting development for our bikes.
And you have a collaboration with WP on all suspension parts.
Yeah, we are authorized center for WP.
Okay, so like that.
And
okay.
We also do external development for KTM and could also do it for other brands.
Okay. So, but KTM are the main users of the WP system, right? On road bikes.
Yeah.
I had a 790 Adventure R I built into like a Dakar spec.
Okay.
And that had full WP suspension, a fantastic suspension. But this is where it's all calibrated to the Krämer bikes.
Yes, on all Krämer bikes we have WP suspension on, and we don't have experience off-road, but we have a lot of experience on road.
On road, exactly. But this is where it's calibrated, and this is where it's fit and dyno to fit the exact bike, so the weight and setup and
dyno tested. So it's always a circle, you know. You test something in theory here, then you go to the track and see if what you made up in your head,
if it actually works in real life,
if it works, and but it's really good to always back it up with data and not only rely on riders. So that gives you a much better foundation for future development because. Yeah, with the experience, with the time, you know which curve and which what you want to achieve and
and which increments you need to adjust it in, because it is with suspension, it's a difficult size, right? Because it's all based on feel, and it's based on tendency. So what one rider might ride fast with is not applicable. It's not applicable.
It's so individual. And our customers is such a wide range from. Never been to a racetrack. I want to start riding. To I'm an ex-professional IDM racer.
From 60 kilos to 120 kilo riders. And you need to make it all work within reason, right?
But that's also the fun of the whole thing, and why the Krämer bikes are also so adjustable. Not only in ergonomics, in electronics, and suspension.
But for the use of the bike, is there too much adjustment? Because sometimes if there's...
most of our, let's say, hobby riders, they don't fool around too much with chassis adjustments. So we give them support to adjust it to their size. And ideally, we meet them time to time on the track to do the next steps with them. And we are really willing to share our knowledge and train our people. And that's also one of the focus for this year and the next year, that we want to spend, again, more time on the track, meeting our customers and giving them the support.
So they get the most out of the bike.
Yes, because it is very difficult, and you need to have a lot of knowledge to set it right.
Yes.
And people are afraid of touching it. So we want to give this support to our customers, because if you just adjust it right, you just have more fun.
You do, and especially something like braking zones, right? So if you get a really loose rear tire on hard braking, it makes you, and if you're not a skilled rider, it makes you really uneasy. So you don't extract the full potential of the bike.
You need to feel comfortable and have a smile in your face the whole lap.
Exactly.
So here we come to the production area and your new bike.
And my fantastic new machine. Wow, looking forward to that.
Jump on. I'll take it off the stand.
Oh, God, it weighs nothing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Quite a difference, eh?
It's a humongous difference. I would say even from a 600, which is still 30 kilos, 40 kilos heavier. Right? Something like that, right? What a difference. I'm looking forward to that. This is the first time I ever sat on one. I've seen one. I've seen a million videos about them. But it's all about the weight, and I think it's the same that applies to cars, like track cars and fun cars. Weight is king.
Weight is king.
So like with Lotus and with McLaren and stuff like that, weight is it's all the fun, right? There's just less mass you have to move around.
It's so hard to understand purely on the spec sheet. You know,
Yeah.
you need to experience it.
That's amazing.
And on the track, it just feels so much different.
Yeah, and so much more fun, I'm guessing, right?
And in combination with the, let's say, racing chassis, you know, a really supportive and stiffer chassis, and with a high performance brakes. So it's just
amazing.
It will give you the smile.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to it. That is amazing. So that's the whole thought process of the bike, right? Is to start from scratch, to make something that's bespoke, purpose built, and doesn't have anything it doesn't need.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Ah, that's amazing.
And
good morning.
Here is the famous Finn Chapman.
Oh. Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, Finn. Thank you for showing up.
The big point, you know, why our bike is so light and let's say better than, let's say, street bikes on the racetrack. It's not because we are so much smarter than the big OEMs. The simple reason is we just do it for the racetrack. And we have completely different boundaries than the OEM has. When they develop a bike, you know, to make it road homologated with all the emissions, with the safety standards. Having 2 people on the bike, the whole chassis needs to be developed different.
Of course it does.
And,
with a pillion on the back, and
we don't have. No. So this is why we can end up with a, let's say, Grand Prix race bike.
Is that one of the reasons why the subframe is the tank, because you don't have to take into consideration of a pillion seat and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This gives us the freedom to do that. Also with this, we lower the center of gravity. So, and also when you start with a full tank, and you know, the tank is getting more empty during riding,
the weight is still
the center of gravity doesn't move so much as you have it up here.
No, exactly.
So the behavior of the bike is really constant. So that's a big plus.
Yeah, because it's a weird thing, right? When taking the fuel and putting it on top, it's like a pendulum.
Yeah.
So when it's full every time, you have to slush the fuel around, and even though you put foam in, it still becomes a lot of weight on top.
This is just air box, just air.
Yeah, exactly. I have to say that's blowing my mind, the weight of it. That is, I could not imagine, because looking at it, 42 kilos is still a lot of kilos. But the difference is where it is, right? That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, Finn will give you all the details on the bike.
Of course. So this is final assembly in here?
This is final assembly here. And we also do customer bikes, the service work on the bikes in here. So it's also winter time. We're doing the engine service, chassis service.
Do the buyers of the bikes that don't live locally, do they send the bikes here for servicing, or do they do that themselves? What is typical?
We also have partners around the world. And you can bring your bike there for the service work. If you don't have anyone nearby, because we don't have a global network like KTM, you can always send it here. Or you can also go to a KTM dealer, because most of the service work is the engine, and it's a KTM engine. They get all the parts. They can get all the chassis parts and what they need from us directly. So
if they're certified, authorized KTM dealership with a workshop like we have pretty local to where I live,
you can go there.
You can actually go there. Obviously, being a second-hand bike, all the servicing, you can also do that yourself. But like valve clearance and timing and stuff like that would be better to get done.
I mean, it comes down to the customer. We also have customers who have a workshop on their own and they are specialized. They don't need anybody else. But also on the other side, a customer who never worked on a bike and just started going onto the racetrack, he needs a garage, a workshop to support him.
Of course.
But there's no limitations. We only say, okay, the best way is to go to a KTM dealer, because they have the experience with the engine.
A quick question.
Or to a Krämer dealer. That would, of course, be the ideal.
Yeah, of course. If it's possible, wherever you live. But if you live, I don't know, if in India or a place like that, it might not be that close by. No, exactly. A quick question. The KTM produced the RC8C, and you were as I understand, part of that development team as well. Where's the main difference between the KTM product, which was a limited number of bikes, And where Krämer, did you start that alongside, or was that already
No,
happening?
The Krämer bike was first. So
Yeah.
we introduced the GP2 line in Krämer.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, we started the cooperation with KTM
Okay.
on the RC8C. And
Okay, that way. So.
the base of the bike is the same.
Yeah.
The difference is mainly the bodywork, the electronics,
Yeah.
exhaust system.
Okay.
So yeah, these things are different on the KTM bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have the same
platform.
Yes.
Yeah. But the platform, the 890 platform, you, as I understand, you get the block itself, or do you buy the complete engine with the
complete engine from KTM?
Exactly. So it is frame development, it's a suspension and chassis development, and it's stuff like
electronic
that makes the
development. So on the KTM did the electronic development. On all Krämers, we do the electronic development.
Okay.
On the current RR, we have a full electronic system. On our bike.
Yeah, so that's developed in-house.
Yes.
Okay. And done by riders, people like people who know
like Finn, and then also some professional riders.
Okay.
That we use for test riding.
Is
like
it
Patrick Kobelsberger, very fast German rider.
What about series, like race series for these bikes? Because in weight and size, they're quite close to Moto2 bikes, other that they're 3-cylinder Triumph engines.
Yeah.
But they look pretty similar. They're maybe similar size.
The best fit is the Super Sport class. I mean, it's a mid-class bike with a power. The weight is, of course, always a plus on all bikes.
Definitely, the power is pretty equal.
On the Super Sport, it's always a question how much tuning is into it. So when you compare it to World Championship 600, they have more horsepower than we have on our bike. Because they tune it up to 145, 150 horsepower. So they have, when you have a fully tuned 600, you have a bit of advantage on the horsepower side.
But not on the weight.
Not on the weight.
No.
We raced it in BSB 3 years. There was a prototype class within the Super Sport class. So we raced against the Super Sport bikes in BSB.
Do you enter then as a factory team, as a Krämer factory team with Krämer riders?
Yes, but that was run through Eddie Roberts, our UK importer. So he set up the whole race team.
In the BSB sector?
In the BSB.
Okay.
And last year we won the GP2 championship with our bike, and also finishing top 10 places overall. So against Kennedy and all the fast Super Sport riders.
Exactly.
So
but that's a real accomplishment, huh? Getting recognized in these real race series. Because there must be some development going from a club racer bike for hobbyists, and then taking the next step.
This is our, let's say, foundation, or let's say this is where we are mainly at. So the BSB is just really the peak. And for development, to really be on the edge of the performance. But really, our market and where we exist is a hobby and amateur market.
Of course.
And this is where our main focus is as well. So our approach is always, we want to build a Grand Prix race bike for hobby riders.
Yeah, so they're approachable.
Yes, because you cannot take a Grand Prix bike and give it to a big, tall hobby riders. So the real Grand Prix bikes from the MotoGP, they're all developed for 1.60 m, 60 kilogram riders. And if you take this bike to a hobby rider, they don't fit on it.
No.
It's way too stiff. You need a whole team to support the bike, to run it. So our goal is always, okay, we want to build a Grand Prix bike, which is accessible for amateur riders and also where they can fit on. This is why also the ergonomy is a little bit bigger.
So it fits more people.
Fits more people. And we have a lot of adjustability on the chassis to really have also from riders who are Grand Prix riders, 165 to 2 meters.
Everyone needs to be able to fit on that chassis. And then it's just suspension and setup.
Suspension, and later on then the electronic setup. But this Grand Prix feeling we want to bring to the amateur racer, because it's a huge difference to ride a Grand Prix bike to a street bike.
Of course, definitely. Yeah, I know.
You can do a lot of improvement when you tune the street bike. But in the end, it will always be in the core street bike with limitations.
From that.
Yes.
So where do you see Krämer Motorcycles in 5 years? What type of business is it? Is it expanded in growth and size, and you have more Krämer bikes on the hobby market, or are you going two directions? One with race teams and one with.
No, our focus would still be amateur racing where we are,
Yeah.
but we want to grow, not increasing the numbers of the models we have. We want to make more models.
Yeah.
You know, like the Apex is a new model
Yeah.
for this year. We also, I mean, this is spoiler. I don't
Yeah.
think
No.
I never
No.
said it publicly.
Yeah.
But of course, we're also thinking into the electric side and even smaller bikes.
Yeah.
So we want to increase the platform of our bikes.
Of course.
And
but
maybe at some stage also a super bike. We get a lot of questions.
At some point, yeah. Yeah, but the thing is exactly because the thing is to get more of these on the tracks everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? And get people more known to the brand, getting people seeing the advantages, maybe not spending hundreds and hundreds of whatever currency you use, thousands of a street bike, and then taking all the parts off and spending a lot of money getting it to a bike, because it'll always have the limitations of that.
Yeah.
And I imagine, I haven't ridden one yet, but I imagine as soon as you try the weight, it's almost impossible to go back.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you
just,
once be on it and sit on it and ride it, it's really hard to go back.
Exactly.
Then you really feel the wow.
Yeah. My first, the reason why I'm here and the reason why Krämer even came into sight was actually a guy that had exactly that experience. Sat on the bike, raced it, documented when he did. And you could just see the joy. And this was an experienced rider who tried this many, many times, but the difference was just eye-opening.
Yeah.
And that's what really, really turned me onto it, because I've raced my R1 now for quite a while, and it's a fast bike and it's a strong bike, but it's more bike than I can manage. So every time
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and we ride a lot in Ring Knutstorp in Sweden, which is a really narrow track, and there's not a single second where you're relaxed, not even on the straight, because it's so short, the straight, and you spend so much time and energy in a 15 lap or an 18 lap race, just battling the weight of the thing.
Yeah.
And every time you want to go out of the corner, the only thing you have in mind is high siding, right? Because if you go too fast on the power,
so much power.
Exactly. And if you look at the numbers on the bike, you don't spend that much time opening the throttle on it. You're coasting quite a lot, or just having a small input on the gas, because it's just not applicable. And there's so much limitation that you have to get it on the tire before we can actually, for hobby riders, I know that professional riders ride them different, but for us, it's a really big limitation.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to racing 1000cc bikes this year, and then going around them. Definitely.
All right.
Okay, that's bigger than expected. So this is all the parts.
Yeah, here we prepare the stuff for production.
Yeah.
All the parts are in here. And we also have a dyno.
Okay, you do. Yeah, a dyno room in there.
Yeah.
So this is the full dyno where every single bike is run through?
Yes. Every bike is checked and run in, and check if everything is working as it should be.
Of course.
And also we use it, of course, for development.
But Marcus, thank you very much for your time.
It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure to see your baby.
And enjoy the time with Finn, and get all the information from Finn.
But thank you very much.
Thank
Your
you.
name is?
So I'm Finn.
You're Finn?
Finn Chapman.
Yeah.
And I started in Krämer about 3 years ago now. I think in February it's 3 years.
Yeah. Not German, I hear?
Not German, no, I came from England.
Yeah.
So Marcus got me to come over here. Sort of enticed me with all of the opportunity to come and do some design work and start working as like what we would call, I guess, an intern.
Okay.
6 months, and see if I could pick up the language,
Yeah.
get used to Germany. And then that went quite well. So we stayed on, and then I took an apprenticeship to go a bit further into design work. That got me to about a year and a half ago, and then my role started to change a little bit into something a bit more as a test rider.
Yeah.
And then it got into 6 months ago or so now, it started to change even more again into more customer relations and technical sales. And now that's kind of stepping away completely from CAD into full technical sales and working on track. So started as a dream, and as the dream got bigger and bigger,
exactly,
and now it becomes something else. So.
But like I told Marcus as well, it's quite unique that you get to find a person that both is able to draw the parts, try the parts, and sell the parts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's quite
Absolutely.
it's quite unique. And for Marcus as well, I also asked him if you were local, and he said he is, but not by default. It became that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my background is I was working in Formula One before as a machinist. So I was CNC machining components, working on CAD.
Yeah.
So I had a grip already on CAD components. I kind of knew how things are made and why things are designed in a certain way. I was also a mountain biker before. I was racing internationally as a mountain biker.
Okay.
So my background's not motorcycles, it's mountain biking.
Yeah. But still on a competitive level.
Exactly. Yeah, on highly competitive level. And then I came to Germany and then had the chance to test ride a bike. Did that with our mechanic. We went together for a weekend and just tried it out. And I think I beat the lap time by like 10 seconds that Marcus set for me. So he sort of gave me like a goal to reach. I think it was like 2:25 or 2:30. And I think I did a 2:16 in Slovakia. So
on Slovakia ring.
yeah, first time on a motorcycle. Basically, I've ridden like a little.
You
390.
you did 2:16.
2:16.8.
Yeah, I've been there quite a lot, and that's
yeah.
So I know by comparison what that is.
It's a fast bike. So
it is.
It's good for us to for me to really get into the way of how a motorcycle worked.
Yeah.
And then after that, then we went to for the rest of the year, just sort of tried out for riding, which went really well. And at the end of the year, he offered me the chance to do some more test riding. So and that's become a real cool part of my job now.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't guess many people get to do that. Even like you said, you had a background in Formula One, so we also look a lot into Formula One.
Yep.
But there's a long way from being in the car to being a part of the team. That is two vastly different things, and you would never even get close to being in the car.
Nowhere near.
No,
you don't get to go. You see it once a year, maybe when the build phase. You get to go look at it every now and again. And I remember back then, sort of Christmas, you could go and have a good chat to the driver and stuff. But rarely you get to get close. Whereas motorcycles is a bit easier to get into. It's a bit more open. I mean,
can you tell what team you were working with?
Yeah, Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Yeah,
okay.
I was in their heyday when they were winning, so I was lucky enough there for the championship.
So that must have been with Lewis and with Valtteri.
Nico Rosberg and then
Valtteri.
Oh,
Nico. Okay.
Started with Nico when his last year was there, when he won the championship, and then I joined
that was in 09? No.
I was 16. I can't remember how long ago that was now, but 16 till I think it was 22, 21. I worked there.
Yeah.
So I got a few championships from that.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a really good start and a good entrance into the motorsport world.
Yeah.
But this is nothing like Formula One. I have to say, it's completely different for me.
But it's also much more approachable, right? It's also you get to be much more part of the whole development and trying the things and talking to the people and doing all that.
Yeah, we're a smaller team. We're about 20 to 30 people.
Yeah.
So everyone's got a much more important role.
Yeah.
Your job role here is really more widespread. So we all share more of the cake, you could say. And yeah, I love it. I love that. We can all kind of rely on each other really well here. It's a nice team. So build some cool bikes.
What I'm really fascinated by, especially on the Krämer bikes, is as a track day rider, as a hobbyist of sorts, the whole bike is accessible in an exploded view. So if I was to low side my bike, I go in to choose that part, that part, that part, and that part, have them shipped, and then I'm ready for next time.
Exactly. Yep.
That's amazing because every time you buy a bigger, so up till now I'm racing a Yamaha R1. So this is my first Krämer motorcycle, and I just sat on it just before when you walked in the door, and the weight difference is mind-boggling.
Yeah, until you ride it, you won't know the difference either.
No.
When you're out on the track, you'll really feel the difference. It's what I've noticed is I ride also a Honda, a 600. I'm going to do the Manx Grand Prix this year, and we've got a Honda for that. And I've noticed during changing of corner on the Honda, I'm kind of whacking my body to the other side and waiting for the bike to come back. On Krämer, if you do that, you're off the track. You're going to be already turned through. You've got a really flow of the bike. It's beautiful. The way it gets through the corners. So you're going to experience that yourself.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to that.
Hearing your feedback on that one. But as you said about the parts as well, is that your left-hand parts will fit the right-hand parts.
Yeah.
So for instance, your left-hand footrest, the footrest plate, the handlebar.
It's just interchangeable.
All of it's interchangeable left to right. It's mirrored parts. And that's what's nice about us is that we can give our customers one set of spare parts.
Yeah.
Send them across the other side.
Yeah.
That's great. So as you have also, you've got your crash protection I think you bought.
Yeah.
Both would fit on either side.
Yeah.
So it's great for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that just makes it, because getting the parts, and especially on an Yamaha R1, right? So if I don't change the subframe on the R1, that's all a cast aluminium, and it takes no input to break it or to warp it or anything like that. And it's almost impossible to get that part. I can buy it OEM from Yamaha, but it's almost unpayable. Yeah. And it's not designed for it. So I have trays and I have pillion seats and I have all these different things which I think are really interesting on a bike that's bespoke, is all these things are taken away.
Yep.
And you have a tubular frame that is much stronger and much more applicable. And then the whole subframe is gone and replaced by the tank. So the fuel load
That's
is
nice.
always centralized.
It's one of my favorite parts of our bikes. Is
Yeah.
you always have a very similar feeling from high fuel load to low fuel load in distribution. So obviously it's a very similar bike.
So this is what bike?
This bike is our new Apex bike.
Yeah.
So
Single cylinder.
single cylinder, 350 motor.
Yeah.
And this is now coming to the end of the end of our development, and we're going to be sending it over to America shortly. There's still a few bits and bobs in here that needs to be changed, of course, because it's right to the last minute as this project is. But yeah, it's kind of taken from an Evo, and we've made a much more suited for kids to race. So something that's a bit more lighter, a bit more technical.
For junior racing.
For junior racing, yeah. You've got the electronics package on this bike now from Mechatronic. This is the ECU that kids can basically, with their team, can explore what they'll be doing in Moto2 eventually, and with MotoGP. It's kind of kicking them off into how riders should be introduced to the technical side of motorcycles, not just the riding, but how a rider should then be able to understand what does he need from his bike to go faster, not just how do I go faster, gas. It's more like, okay, the bike needs to turn in better, the bike needs to do this on exit. So this is our version of what we can give them for that. So if we want to talk about the tank quickly, for example, it's quite a good opportunity here. Oh, sorry, just get my... So for this tank was quite a nice example. We had to give it a bigger airbox on this bike for the 350 motor. It needed an airbox to make more power. For the ram air system.
Yeah. For the intake. Yeah.
Exactly. And something we had to do was make some space in our tank, which was different than what we've had to do before. For that.
So that's contoured into the.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so the tank is made of.
The tank is it's plastic. I've actually forgotten the name of the plastic now. Marcus has told me 100 times. It's roto molded, so that means that as material is fed into a mold, it's spinning around, and using a centrifugal force, it's pushing the material out, and that's how it forms into these shapes.
Okay, so it's actually pressed outwards.
Yeah, well, through centrifugal force, exactly. And that's a really nice part that gets made because it evenly spreads the material through the part.
Yeah.
And it can create, for instance, shapes like this, extremely crash robustant.
Yeah.
Basically a lot of features on here follow through from the GP2 and the Evo, but we can change it around. And what's been a nice thing to do is that, for instance, for this, you get within 1 to 2 millimeters clearance, and you can be sure that's how the form of this part will be.
Okay.
So you are, in terms of the tolerances as well.
Yeah, the tolerances are much tighter, and they're much more evenly. Yeah.
And all of this is made from, I haven't actually designed this part myself, this came from a colleague, but it's nice that we can kind of have this CAD to learn from each other as well, and that's what I can do. I can use the examples now, and if we have any issues or anything, go straight back to it, and I can modify it in here. So, is there a lifespan for a plastic tank? No, for our plastic tanks, no. We've had them on bikes for years. Like there's one that I've seen on from 20, and that's been fine. I'm sure Marcus had them from back in the Evos. Yeah. So. No, as far as I'm aware, the lifespan isn't the issue, and they crash extremely well. They don't really crack; they bend. Yeah. They go back, and then they reform. We've had some lightweight ones, which are much thinner, and they do actually have a little bit more of a flexibility in their way, which can change the way the riding feels. So you don't want to go too thin on material. That's been tested where we've gone thinner and thinner. You end up with the actual that's giving you your suspension. It's not transferred because, of course, you sit on it. Yeah, you sit on it. Yeah, so this part is loaded by the rider weight. Yeah. So we've had an Evo one that we've tried before, and you're actually moving that before you move part of the suspension. So you can go too far with it. Yeah, so it has to be stiff for your suspension to take the load. Exactly. But they're lovely parts. Yeah, I mean, that's 12 litre. That one, our GP2 is 16 litres. That gets you around to an hour of riding time. Okay. Which no one really goes over an hour. Not at all. I mean, I've tried, but yeah, that's only that would also be in endurance racing. Yeah. So, and this is what CAD gives us. It gives us the opportunity to play. Yeah. For instance, development with chain rings. Yeah. So you can see a bit of a weird shape going on here. Yeah, definitely. This is something we're going to be thinking about trying out on the bigger bikes to look if the resistance gets reduced through to having. Because the elevation of the teeth are. Is that the difference? The elevation of the teeth. You've got less teeth. So I know, but so okay. Elevation should be roughly the same, to be fair, but also more load on each tooth. Then. Yeah, exactly. So it can cause more wear. Yeah. So we're working with a company from Bavaria, for instance, a local company. Yeah. We're very big on using around Europe and what we've got around here. For development. Yeah, we love doing that. So it's quick. It's nice to use the guys that we've got also around, for instance, Germany. Keep it a proper German brand. So we're very proud of that. Of course. Yeah. So this is my new bike, my second-hand new bike, putting on new fairings, getting them all painted and doing on my scheme. Okay. So I talked to Melissa
and we arranged to put a new engine in it. So the RR engine has a bit more power.
Yep, the stronger one.
A stronger. What makes the engine stronger on the double R engine?
So the comparison between the two engines is this one has got your titanium valves.
Yeah.
You've got a different intake. I believe the camshaft's also got a more aggressive profile to it.
Yeah. So higher lobe. Okay.
Yep. And the change of horsepower is, I think it's about 8 horsepower. You're making difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
But also you've got more RPM. So I've also spent a whole year developing this between the two, the old one and the new one, in a old chassis. So you've actually got a bike that I know quite well right now.
Okay.
And the difference is really good. It's really nice. Yeah, it's a really nice engine.
The chassis for this year compared to the new double R, is that the same chassis?
You'd say it's the same frame, but we're using different components for suspension. So for instance, your linkage here is more of a linear, where what we're running now is more progressive.
Okay.
That means it's a future upgrade you can make very easily to your bike.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely suggest to the faster riders.
Okay. Because what I'm looking forward to, you mentioned that before as well, is on turning, like on the 600, you have to shift your weight. But if you do that, that darts across the track. So
it's turning in quicker than you think, basically.
It does, yeah. Okay.
BSB riders have taken this bike and have told us they want it to turn in slower.
Okay.
That's because they're just used to Japanese 180, 160 kilogram bikes.
Yeah.
This is just a different animal completely. You will get used to it.
Yeah.
It's very easy. It's not a scary bike to ride. What I meant is it's turning. The moment you're thinking it's turning, and it's very aggressive in the way it wants to do that. It wants to be ridden very hard. The chassis stiff.
Okay.
It's one of these
so
bikes.
You have to be really determined when you give it input.
Yep. It's a track bike. It's not a bike you can ride around through shops. It's not something like that. It's a bike it wants to be ridden, and you've got to push it and tell it who's boss.
What I have a hard time with, especially on my R1, is if I don't turn in at the right time, I have a hard time shifting the weight towards the apex. So if I look at my apex, I see it, but for some reason, I just cannot get the bike turned in. So it seems like the weight of it just wants, because of also the centrifugal force, it wants to push outwards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So especially on long, like 180-degree corners, where I want to make a V and turn on the top and then go back, I just cannot get it back in. So that's what I'm really looking forward to see if that'll shift quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I ride this bike very similar to 1000 line because of the torque.
Yeah.
It gives you compared to a 600 4-cylinder, it's a completely different line style from what I've ridden. And the nice thing that you're saying is that you're struggling to get with the centrifugal force of the bike pushing you out. This will not be the issue of this bike. It's holding that line. The adjustment what we've got actually on the rear end is pretty cool. So we've got here your shock. You can extend and reduce the length of your shock.
Yeah.
This is worth playing with, especially for someone who's got more feeling for a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Then underneath, you've got your flip chips, which you should be able to see on your side. But here, if we look at the front down here, these are your flip chips for your swing arm angle.
Yeah, yeah.
This can increase and reduce the swing arm angle as well as changing this. You can do these both together. Just in these two changes, including, of course, your sag that you've got here, your adjustable sag. Sorry, your adjustable preload. You're going to experience a bike that's going to do everything you want. The thing is, a lot of people won't play.
No.
Make sure you do. Make sure you try it out. If you are somebody who's interested in doing that, I really can say I feel the difference between 2mm changes on the swing arm offsets.
Yeah.
We've got the flip chips right now, I believe, are the
but the flip chips
2 to
are
4mm.
Yeah, exactly. So I see they're marked with the position they are now. So they're oval, so you can just
out, swip in.
Exactly. Do they have more positions or infinite
There's
positions?
2 positions on that one, 1 and 2, and then you can also go for a 0 and a 6mm one, which of course is the hole then further away from center. So that's when you'd have to buy that as a secondary part.
Okay.
You can fit them very easily and very easy to do on a track day.
Okay.
Very easy change to make. Same thing with your shock adjustment.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've also got then your tank height adjustment. So here we're using a sort of a cam system, like where it's able to swivel.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah, exactly.
And that will raise and lower the tank. And something I love doing is always having that as low as possible. And
the seat as low as possible. Yeah.
But if I go to the Evo, I have it as high as possible.
Okay.
Because the bikes are different the way they're using their lines. So on this is more of a 1000, so I want to sit in the bike. Whereas the Evo, I want to be on top and I want to bring it with high lean angle throughout the whole corner.
Yeah.
This I want to spend basically minimum amount of time at max, get it, and do that. And with the lower seat, I find that's much more suited to that kind of riding style.
When bikes, when you crash these bikes, I see like the crash protection on the side. That's all not. It's also bolted into the frame, right?
Sure.
So it has a flange and it sits on the bolts. What are the prone parts that usually break on these bikes when you crash them?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you just said is this part. The
Yeah.
great thing is this is actually meant to absorb the energy.
Yeah.
So having a second plate, which you've done yourself, buying one of these plates, that's probably the best thing you can do, because that is the first thing to take all of the energy. It stops it from reaching the frame, stops it from reaching throughout other parts of the bike.
Yeah.
I've never ever done one of these on a crash. I've
Okay.
never even got close to a tank. So if you do that, you'll do well.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
These always are the first things, of course.
Of course.
Place. And
the end can as well.
yeah, you've got the bigger exhaust in this one. It should be quieter at least.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then, of course, these guys here, they're always, the good thing is they're made of 3 parts, 1, 2, and 3. So usually you'll bend one of these parts before you actually do this.
Yeah.
Which means you just need less parts.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, because that's really, for us that take, let's say we go 4 days to Slovakia from Denmark. It's a long drive. You don't want to go down there and crash on the first day, on the first stint, and then you don't have the clip on. So my theory is always to make sure what parts are the most prone to break, and I'll have a box of them with me, so it'll never stop you riding.
Yeah, I mean, fairing,
unless I bend the frame or bend the forks or anything like that.
Fairing's pretty strong, and I've never really had a problem with getting these. I have done a few windscreens.
Yeah.
They are usually one of the first things to go because of the material they are.
Yeah.
But again, you can very easily get a second one.
Yeah.
And they're not, they're not something that on the track that you do need it, of course, but they're not something that you on the track they're going to struggle to replace. You can pretty much fit it in a few minutes if you wanted to. So they're easy. Yeah, handlebars, these parts. But again, you can still ride without them if you needed to. So if you were to crash, you could still take them off, and that would be part of the thing.
Exactly.
The next crash might not be so good. But
No. But yeah, we'll take one at a time. What about the tires? All these bikes run Pirelli tires. SC0s, SC1s in the front.
SC1s, both front and
rear. Is that what the bike is developed to ride with?
Yeah, they run the best in most of our opinions on the Pirelli SC1s. The rear is a 180. It's not a 190.
Okay,
we're using still a 6-inch rear rim at the moment, and that fits better to the 180.
Can you put a 190 tire?
You can put a 190. They're still okay to fit on there, but they actually run better with the 180.
Okay.
We've done quite a bit of testing back and forth between the two. Of course, the BSB boys, they have to run the 190s.
Yeah, that's by spec now.
And you do then get the SCX and the SC0 opportunity of that.
But there are more qualification tires.
Yeah, and they're more expensive. The 180s are actually cheaper now because they're no longer the mainstream tire.
No.
And I also then run a TD slick when I'm doing coaching.
Metzler.
Yeah. And that's much cheaper. You can double direction.
Yeah, you can flip it. Yeah.
And that tire is roughly, I was 2 seconds slower on my fastest lap in testing when I was giving it all with the traction
on
control.
the TDs.
On TDs. So 2 second difference for someone that's going to be track daying is great. You know, that's a great tire. When you want to do your race, you chuck on the SC1, you get your extra speed. Yeah. So
are they being that they're a little bit down on power and a lot down on weight, are they better on tires? So if you're not a BSB rider that doesn't have the infinite amount of money and backup to get tires, so tires are for a lot of club racers a really big part of the expenditure. Are they more economic on tires?
Yeah, I mean, I've not
depending on how you ride.
Exactly. Yeah. It's I've not had my experience on other 600s because I came to Krämer as my first motorbike.
Yeah.
But I did ride a B&W 1000 for a year, and I can tell you, in comparison to 1000, you know, you're looking at triple the tire life straight away.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you can get a day out of these tires. B&W was 2 sessions, and you could say goodbye to that thing. So, in the higher level of riding, you can expect to survive on one of these tires for 4 sessions as a good rider. Yeah. After that, of course, then you're just playing around on something without as much grip. But
of course.
And when they do reduce their grip, say Pirellis do have a bit of that drop off. They stay good.
They do.
Drop,
they do.
And you can expect, after 1 to 2 seconds of drop off, it will stay like that for the rest of its tire life.
Okay.
So I get almost a day from Most.
Yeah.
And Most kills tires.
Yeah.
So if you do a whole day of Most and finish the last session on a new tire.
Yeah. So this year I'm starting in Essen, and then we're moving to Ossersleben.
Awesome.
So we're racing in Ossersleben as well.
Essen is awesome for this.
I've never been there at Essen, so this is the first time going there.
Yeah.
So what recommendations? Now this is my first trip and my first year on a Krämer bike.
Mm-hmm.
What are, if you were to say 3 things that I should do on this bike, what would that be?
Don't be afraid to play with the fork height.
So we're talking about the length of the fork legs through the triple?
You got it.
Yep.
So you drop. Because these bikes are so light and so stiff, little changes make bigger differences, I found, on these bikes.
Okay.
So what I like to run is between 25 to 28 millimeters of depth.
Yeah.
That's depending on track and mostly riders. That's kind of the sweet spot for the head angle as well. You get in the geometry into a good place of that. Along with then playing around with a swing arm length. At the moment, you've got quite a long swing arm length.
Yeah. How do you see that?
You just know because of how far the axle is out
okay.
from. And it's also on we've got 2 sides of the block.
Yeah.
You can turn it around to have a shorter one
or
a further one. So I can see you've got quite a lot of protrusion. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You're getting a lot of weight on the front, but these bikes are very, very front heavy already from a short wheelbase position.
Okay.
So I like to have a rider who's a bit more comfortable on a shorter rear end.
Yeah.
The longer can give actually a bit more stability. So for newer riders or riders that are not so confident, the longer one can work quite well. But for riders who are looking for a faster bike, definitely shorter on the rear. And I like to have them, as I said, 27 to 25 on the front.
Yeah.
Aston, you'd be looking at probably 26, 25.
Is that really that big of a difference? Those increments in mils?
Yeah, definitely. For feeling that I find, between the geometry, it's just changing the geometry. And doing that will change the geometry much more than anything else you'll find. You've also then got your adjustability of the front end. You can
of the rake.
kick this out 1 degree or half a degree, or have it as it is now. And we've also then got our offset.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of 28 mil. A lot of riders like the 26. This is all depending on your riding and what
so to approach that, you would do what?
You take off the nuts.
Yeah.
You actually do need to have probably something to help you, but you need to have the bike onto an engine stand.
Yeah.
To lift
so
up
there's
the
no
bike.
weight on the front.
Exactly.
Okay. No weight on the forks.
Drop out. Take this up. Drop out the triple clamp.
Yeah.
And you can swap around like it's like on a, how do you call that? Oh God, lost the words today. Pull it out and you can swap it around, and it's moved then 2 millimeters when you're putting it back.
Okay, and then it just offsets it by 2 millimeters.
Yep.
Okay.
And that change is big enough to also notice. Definitely. Okay. So I'm a 28 millimeter guy because I like a little bit more when I'm braking. I like the bike to be able to sort of move under the braking. Where I find 26 for me, it's more stable. It's more letting the corner come, and you can kind of carve into the corner.
Okay.
So I'm someone who much rather just treat it like a mountain bike and just
and just flip it in.
Yeah. Okay. That's just the front end on that side. Then you've got, of course, your electronics, which I can go through with you quickly.
Yeah.
So we don't have traction control. We don't have wheelie control on this one. It's the strong engine, but it's not got the good electronics. Yeah. But what we do have still is the opportunity to play with what's called a sunny map.
Yeah.
And here a rain map.
A rain map. Okay.
I honestly don't think rain map is the right word. I'd rather have soft and aggressive.
Okay.
I think it's not.
Is that for throttle response?
I think soft or rain is actually great for most riders. I think probably 70, 80% of Krämer riders should be on that map.
Okay.
It's only using this when you are really comfy with sliding and really comfy with the bike getting
moving
aggressive.
under you.
Yeah. When you're happy with that, that's a great map to have. But generally, our riders should always look that as not a rain map. It's chosen rain because you need to say what's.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the power input. It has to do with the way the power comes on.
100% on both is 100%. That's how it is. What it does do on the rain map is it allows a much softer input, probably for the first up to almost halfway of the throttle. Yeah. And you've got much more control. You could think of it as a bit of like a graph with the aggressive one shooting up quickly. Yeah. Whereas this one, it waits longer. It's got a longer delay, and that graph will that line will slowly increase, and that's what this gives you. So then you've also got your engine braking. Yeah. So here with your arrows, down meaning less, up meaning a higher amount of engine brake.
So how many settings are in the engine brake? Two
on the engine brake.
A low and a high. Yeah.
You got it. And for most people, I would say start with the rain map. Yeah. Start with high. Yeah. This gives you a lot of support as you enter corners with your engine braking. When you have it on low, it does act a lot more like probably like a 600, I guess. Okay. Whereas I really like the high on this one. Yeah. So yeah, you'll have to try it out for yourself and see what you find.
But it's just a way to start. Yeah. Yeah. So high engine brake and in rain mode or in soft mode as such.
And of course I picked limiter.
Yeah.
So just to have, it's good. It keeps you under the 60k an hour, I believe it's
exactly.
Yeah. So and you can just turn that on and off.
Is that set by default?
What do you mean, sorry?
Is that the speed is set by default?
Okay. Yes, correct. Yeah. And then I think it also turns itself off after you leave second gear. I can't remember on the old ones, I'm afraid, but I know that you just press the button, press it again when you finish.
Okay.
So that's easy to do. Yeah. Then you've got, of course, which is nice to have on our AIM software, is your data. Yeah. Very easy. Do you work with that at all?
No, I don't.
It's really easy. The software is available for free. Yeah. You download it, and then you get basically all of the data that you would need to, especially if you're teaching or especially if you're trying to work with somebody to improve your own lap time. Yeah. You're definitely going to be able to do that. I do that a lot with our riders, where they may email me or I'm at a track day and they're going to show me their data and we can compare my data from my Krämer and theirs. So what
data does that pick up?
So you've got your GPS. So you've got your GPS speed, lean angles, throttle input,
brake input.
Not brake. You can do that. You can have brake input put onto this bike. Okay. But from stock, we don't do that. Yeah. Gear position, so which gear you're in. Then your usual kind of things that go on.
But will it show where due to the GPS, will it show where on the track you're in?
Exactly. It's very
third gear,
accurate
second
as well.
gear. Yeah. Okay, it is. Okay.
So
So that also works as the lap timer.
Yep.
Right. So when I come to Essen or Ostersleben, do I need to program it to make it sure
No,
it
finds
knows
itself.
exactly where I am? It knows where the start is.
I would suggest turning it on from the back of the switch
Yeah.
2 to 3 minutes before your first session, which is completely
To
normal.
let it find it.
Let it find its GPS,
Okay.
and it's set to go.
What about sector times?
Yeah, gives you that as well.
Okay.
You can even, I think, define which sectors you want in the software.
Yeah.
So once you get really into it, you can start playing around with that. It will give you your predicted lap time.
Yeah.
It will give you your fastest session lap time to go against. So when you're riding, you can see where you are plus or minus from your last or your fastest lap. You can set this all up. And it will give you a theoretical. So you could say after a whole session, come in, and it will pick your best sectors and put them together and say, you personally, with all of them together, can do this. Then you know what you've kind of got. Usually you're always under a second or so from that.
So it's just a matter of putting all the sectors together then.
Yeah, and the best of the best riders can do that, like Pecco. He can put those kind of things together. That's where you can really try and learn how to do that and stay smooth. It means the rider shouldn't rush anything through anymore. So yeah, that's a really nice feature from us to have with this guy here. It's very user friendly, that I find.
But you say you can download it. Is it app based? Is it PC based?
PC. I haven't used the app. I believe it might be an app, but it's PC and it's over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So very easy.
So it just talks over Wi-Fi.
Laptop, connect, finish. It's that easy.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you need any help on that, we can have that on our community area that we've got running now. So you can find how to extract the data from the bike and how to even understand it. That's all coming in future to sort of show our riders how to do that.
So on the Krämer website, I noticed there was a community part, and that's where it is.
Yep.
So that's where there's a lot of.
This is our new home for our riders. That should really be everyone getting on top of that. They should be putting in their information, and we're going to be able to help our riders much closer, give them software updates, give them information on upgrades, any events that are coming as well from us at Krämer. We've even got our own Krämer event coming this year in Rio.
Exactly, yeah, because they don't get to overtake me anymore.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. When you're coming out of those corners, you'll be surprised from 3rd to 4th gear until you reach that point. The torque on this bike, it's not going to let them get away until you get onto that straight.
No.
So, with your blipper and quick shifters on this bike as well, it's a very smooth bike to ride.
Yeah.
I find going into corners, it's very happy to even do that sort of Moto2 style, get the rear out.
Yeah.
If you can ride a bike like that, you'll be very happy to do that.
Okay.
It's got a nice slipper clutch, so that works really well. And the engine braking is strong, so it lets you do that stuff.
Yeah.
Just
perfect.
That's up to you. Wait for your screen to come on. You can also change your screen to what you want. I had my racing logo on there, so you can make it personalized.
Oh, that's cool.
Then you've got your red button, which is your ignition. Just wait for that noise to stop.
For the pump.
There you go.
There you go.
Hold just for a second. Yep.
Fantastic sound. It doesn't need any exercise.
You got it. Yeah. Let it get to 80 degrees Celsius water temperature at least, I'd say, before you go out on track. I like to do 2 warm-ups. I like to do one about 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so do I before, and just to get the engine up and
oil temperature is an important one.
Exactly, because if you can still go out with 80-degree water temperature and have pretty cold oil.
Yeah, something I've done before in a BMW. It's not fun.
Okay, yeah, that cost you a BMW engine, I'm guessing.
It's not my. I'm not the best at that. So yeah, I've got very religious now myself. It's just letting the bike warm up.
Yeah,
and it's good for the motor. You know, it's only going to help it. And you can rev it around, of course, but no one likes that. If you're on a race day,
no, it's just obnoxious.
Yeah.
What about a small thing? Tire temperature on these?
Sure.
What do you set your warmers at, and pressure is high? Because this is a lot less weight, so I'm guessing there's a lot less load on the tires. So
I stick to the minimum superbike stuff. So I always try and stay 1.6 rear, 2.3 front. The 1.6 rear is your minimum in German superbike. What you're allowed to go to.
Well, is that based on 80 or 90 degree tire horn?
I think that's on 80s that I'm using.
80s?
Pretty sure that 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll have to double check because I do use different tire warmers sometimes. But what I like to try and do is look at about 155 just before I go out on the rear.
And then let it increase.
And let it increase. Yeah.
Okay.
And then for the front is a 2.3 bar. So I'm sorry, I don't know in PSI. I don't know if
no, I normally use bar.
That's fine. Yeah. Come a bit close so we can look.
Yeah.
We use like a shelf here that the spacer from the wheel would sit on.
Yeah.
And the same on the other side. There's also a shelf there. It might be easier on this side to see.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
so
you can see that there.
The nice thing here is that you take the wheel, the axle out, the spindle out, and the wheel stays exactly where it is. It doesn't go anywhere. Then you just take off your chain. back the wheel out,
Yeah.
and it can very easily reverse that, put it back in. And we've got it
And the
down.
caliper is fixed.
Calipers on floating, but it's fixed in position, as you said. So it's on a shelf. So it'll always stay where it is, but it can move back and forth.
Of course.
And same on the front, we've actually
You
got
take the front, yeah.
slightly different than the front, but you take the
Yeah.
fender off,
Yeah.
but the calipers stay on.
Okay.
So there's no need to unscrew your calipers. And then you can very easily then just undo the left bolts. These two stay tight because they're holding on to the thread, the insert. You undo the two left bolts here.
Okay.
And then you just whack out the spindle.
Yeah.
And then reverse the thing with a new wheel.
The torque settings, are they available?
So 100 on the rear.
Yeah.
And 60 on the front.
And what for the pinch bolts?
Pinch bolts, I believe, are down to 15.
Okay, but that's
10
is that
15.
information available?
That's all. It's all
Okay.
available on ours. We've even got a YouTube video explaining our wheel change system as well. So
Okay.
if people do need to check that out, you can just go onto our YouTube as well as on our community area. It's
Yeah.
the same thing there. So
Okay.
all of this information is available.
Yeah.
And yeah, put that all back together, and that's finished. And we've got that down to. We've got the video, in fact, on our Instagram. I think we've got that down to 20-something seconds now, front and rear, with 4 mechanics.
Yeah.
We're doing some training this year just to see how we could do through winter, and yeah, we got it down to that. So it's pretty quick. If you were to, for instance, do Isle of Man, or if you were doing an endurance race,
Yeah.
under 30-second pit stop is definitely a plus point of these bikes.
I am going to Isle of Man this year, but not racing.
Oh, shame.
Yeah.
Nice.
No.
That's,
Do you have a wish to do that?
I'm doing the Manx in
Oh, you are?
this year. Yeah, I'm heading there. So
On
yeah.
a Krämer?
On a Krämer Evo.
Okay.
We can't ride the GP2 yet, but
No.
we can take the Evo there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm heading to do that, which would be a lot of fun. So taking under the wing of an ex-Krämer rider who's just won last year. So
Okay.
I've got quite good
Wow.
instructors. But
So you'll, yeah.
I don't know how good I'll do. I'm just going there for fun.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah. In a way, what you're saying is don't be afraid to make the adjustments and get the most out of the
It's
bike.
the best thing on the bike.
Yeah.
Adjust it is the most fun you'll have on this thing.
Yeah.
It's not a normal motorcycle that's heavy and designed to kind of fit road riding. It's designed for track racing.
Yeah.
It's not something that the adjusters are not going to make a difference on, because I can promise you on a lot of road bikes, you're going to click these adjusters and it's going to go nowhere.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. Whereas on these things, you're getting a race bike,
Yeah.
you're getting something that wants to be. You know, you're changing your preloads, you're changing your compression, your
Yeah.
rebound here, and then you even got high-speed adjustment on your shock.
Yeah.
That's something that race bikes have. You don't really find high-speed adjustment on the compression
No.
on anything these days. So that's, you know, for me, that's mountain biking is normal because that's what you need. But
Yeah.
on a race bike, it's great to have. So
Of course.
for someone who wants to push in, that's what it's there for.
So adjustment-wise, go on it as it is now,
Yep.
and then start fiddling with it.
Yeah, you got it.
So if I have so the tendencies are, so let's say in braking zone, so let's say I get on the bike now, and on heavy braking, the rear tire is nowhere near the ground.
Sure.
What
Yep.
would be the adjustment made
Yes. I mean,
to combat that?
the first thing you can start looking at is your fork, see
Yeah.
what's happening there. If you're finding it's could be too stiff, could be
Bottoming out.
bottoming out, exactly.
Yeah.
And the same thing for your rear. You could see what your rebound's doing. You could see how your sag is from your preload.
Yeah.
We have our standard settings, which we recommend for all of our bikes, which we can find on community area
Yeah.
as well. You put in your bike, it gives you everything straight away.
Okay.
I would suggest start with the standard settings,
Yeah.
which you can get from there, and then from that point forward, start adjusting it. But the possibility then to raise and lower, of course, the front end, have the handlebar height changes. There's so much from the rider. And one of the nicest things about this bike is people don't realize it's got way more room than any 1000.
Yeah.
The movement, if you get on, and you'll see how far back you can go.
Yeah.
From the front to the back of the bike.
Yeah.
And then changing as well your so your handlebars.
Yeah,
position. It's great for even 6'2" riders.
Yeah.
We've got people from Austria riding it who are 6'3", 6'2", and it's hard for them, of course, the aero.
Of course.
But they fit great on these bikes, and they don't fit 1000 very well.
No.
So
No, not at all, because they're all cramped in
yeah,
sizes.
exactly. And that's one of the nice things about this bike. So.
Ja. Nu skal vi til at sætte kursen hjemover.
Yep.
Lige blevet færdig nede ved Kræmer.
Ja.
Krämer Motorcycles.
Krämer Motorcycles.
Hvad synes du om det?
Helt fantastisk oplevelse. Fuldstændig. Altså,
Det var vildt. Det var vildt at komme så tæt på.
meget. Ja, jamen jeg synes, det er helt svært at sætte ord på det.
Ja.
Helt fantastiske mennesker, som gad at bruge deres
Lørdag
formiddag på at vise os rundt og snakke en hel masse.
Altså, jeg blev overrasket over sådan niveauet. Altså, jeg kan godt... Det er jo ikke bare... Altså, det er jo ikke en... Det er ikke et lille værksted ude bagved, hvor vi lige laver nogle stumper. Altså, det er decideret udvikling og produktion og optimering og dygtige folk på et højt niveau. Altså, det er jo et... Nu ved jeg godt, at han siger, at de laver meget til hobbybrug og så videre, men det er...
Meget professionelt.
Ja, niveauet er satme godt nok højt, det må man sige.
Meget.
Også det her med, at Finn han kommer fra Formel 1 af.
Ja, det er stadigvæk sådan lidt... hvad er det der ord, de bruger? Flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted, ja, med sådan lidt målløs over.
Ja, det synes jeg.
Ja.
Det synes jeg. Altså nu, jeg talte jo lidt med ham, mens du læste motorcyklen.
Ja.
Og det synes jeg jo det var lidt sjovt. Jeg kunne ikke lade være med at spørge ind til det Formel 1 der.
Nej.
Du ved. Og altså
hans baggrund,
og
ja.
Nu siger jeg kender, du ved, men han kender bedre end os, men Toto Wolff,
ja, Lewis Hamilton,
Valtteri Bottas,
Nico
Rosberg. Ja. Jeg synes bare, det var sgu vildt. Det er det tætteste, jeg har været på en Formel 1-kører.
Ja, det er rigtigt.
Ja.
Ja, altså jeg må indrømme, jeg synes, det var en fed oplevelse. Jeg synes, nu første gang, jeg sad på cyklen, det har jeg ikke gjort før. Det kan ikke gå hurtigt nok nu med, at sæsonen den skal starte.
Der er lige et par dage til nu.
Der er lige et par dage til nu. Jeg tænker, at nu skal jeg bare have den gjort klar. Nu skal den males og gøres lækker og fin. Stafferinger, sådan, så den ligner det, jeg gerne vil have. De der kåber, der er på nu i blå og rød, det er simpelthen så pissegrimt. Så det skal jeg have. Nu har jeg fået et nyt sæt kåbe med, dem skal jeg have malet, og så skal jeg have malet de også, tror jeg. Jeg tror, de bliver malet hvidt det hele.
Ja.
Og så skal den gøres klar, og så glæder jeg mig bare sindssygt meget til at komme i gang.
Ja.
Så nu synes jeg, at vi skal køre den lange tur hjemover.
Det synes jeg. Men jeg har lige en.
Ja.
Jeg synes lige, at vi lige skal melde ud, at hvis nogen synes, at det kunne være helt vildt fedt at se sådan en Krämer, fuldstændig dedikeret racercykel, så kommer den jo til at stå
på lokomotivhallerne. Så når der i februar måned, nu har jeg glemt datoen igen, 22. 23. februar, tror jeg det var.
Ja,
noget af den stil, når vi er over i lokomotivhallerne over i København til MC-messen. Der kommer den med over, og der forhåbentlig er den fuldstændig klar, så der kan man se, hvad sådan noget er for noget.
Ja.
Få lov at prøve at sidde på den og se, hvordan det nogle gange føles.
Ja, hvor let den er.
Hvor let den er, og hvor potent den sandsynligvis nok også er.
Ja, lige præcis.
Så det glæder jeg mig til. Ja. Så vi håber, I ser jer derovre, over på messestanden derovre. Så,
kig forbi, endelig.
Kig forbi.
Ja.
Nu skal vi have lidt kilometer overstået. Vi har kørt lidt, men vi har stadig omkring 1000 kilometer tilbage.
Ja, der går lige et øjeblik.
Så lad os sætte kursen.
Ja, lad os gøre det.
Tak for at I så med, og meget gerne subscribe, hvis I ikke allerede gør det. Det er måden, man kan få lidt mere af det her indhold på.
Ja.
Det, der skal ske nu, det er, at nu sender vi kursen hjemover, og skal hjem og have klippet det her sammen. Og forhåbentlig kommer der en fin video ud af det, og ellers så kommer der lidt podcast og lidt af hver også. Og jeg glæder mig bare til at komme hjem med skrue nu.
Det kan jeg godt forstå.
Og det kan jeg ikke gøre, mens den står her bag.
Nej, så lad os komme hjem af.
Hjemme af.
Ja.
Vi ses, og på gensyn.
Hej.